Joining us now is Stephanie Taylor. She is the co-founder of the Progressive Change Campaign Committee. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ben. Good to be here.
So the numbers are pretty bleak for Russ Feingold. They're a little better than they had been 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago. But that has not deterred the PCCC from doing all you guys can to see that Russ Feingold stays in the Senate.
That's right. And one thing to keep in mind about polling is that a lot of the polling firms, it's been shown, aren't looking at people with cell phones who obviously are younger and skew more Democratic. And so I would caution that we should be really careful when trusting some of the polling that's been shaping a lot of the conventional wisdom about these races.
I agree with you. The only down part about that is that guys like Nate Silver are factoring that in. They are acknowledging those polls are leaving stuff out and that may affect things slightly. Doesn't mean they're right. You're right. It doesn't mean they're right, but they're not like totally ignoring that. Obviously, he has an uphill battle. So tell us obviously we have the TYT Army is doing all it can for Russ Feingold. Tell me exactly what's happening, about exactly what you guys are doing, and then apparently yesterday an enormously successful day for getting out the vote for Senator Feingold.
That's right. Well, I think in any situation, and especially in an election like this one, we believe that the grassroots plays an extremely important role in the election, and that at the end of the day, people power is the most important factor. We have something called calloutthevote.com. It is a project from the Progressive Change Campaign Committee and Democracy for America. And also, as you mentioned, we're very proud to be in partnership with Young Turks on this project. Folks can also participate at turkoutthevote.com. And what it is volunteers from across the country can sign up to make calls for progressive candidates from home. And we have had enormous success, have just been making huge numbers of phone calls. We've made over 395,000 calls so far for the slate of progressive candidates.
400,000 calls, nearly 400,000 calls. That's amazing.
That's right. That's right. We're going to hit probably 400,000 tonight. I keep hitting refresh, watching the numbers go up. And the goal is 500,000 calls by Election Day. And on Sunday, we actually were making calls for Senator Feingold and made over 48,000 calls, which, again, is just a huge number. And I think it's going to be really important.
That's not 48,000. That's 48,000 calls for Russ Feingold yesterday.
That's right.
That's unbelievable.
That's right.
And, you know, that makes a difference. You get a call from a real person. It makes a huge difference to people who haven't made up their mind. And I think it makes up a huge difference to people who didn't think it was important and weren't thinking about voting.
I think that's absolutely right. There's a really important role that we have to play right now, which is reminding Democrats about what the alternative is. I know that it's been a rough and sometimes disappointing year in terms of not seeing some of the pieces of progressive legislation passed that we wanted to see passed. But at the end of the day, there also are some great progressives who are running. There's great progressives that would continue to fight for important legislation inside of Congress, and we need to do everything we can to remind voters about that and get these folks either into office or keep them in office.
And just so we're clear, the last poll in Wisconsin, the poll that Stephanie is telling you to dismiss, but the last one you might not want to dismiss, 49-47 Johnson, Russ Feingold, only down by 2 points. And again, that's a poll that isn't necessarily factoring everything that we need to be factoring in, but that shows perhaps some degree of gains being made by Russ Feingold, and that means 48,000 calls made Sunday make a huge, huge, huge difference. Where can people join up to make this happen?
Well, I'm glad you asked. At turkoutthevote.com. Again, this is the project that we are actually working in partnership with Young Turks on. Turk Out the Vote. It's like Turn Out the Vote.
No, they got it here. Our listeners.
They got it? Okay.
Our listeners know how to spell Turk Out the Vote.
And we have shifts every single day for the next 8 days between now and Election Day. On the website, people can sign up for as many shifts as they want. This is a really easy process. You can call from home. All you need is a phone and a computer and a quiet place to make your calls. And
how much does this pay, Stephanie? Just kidding.
well, the idea behind being a
because
volunteer,
I'm not going to do it unless you can float me $50. My time is valuable, Stephanie.
It is valuable, it is, and we recognize that, and I think that it's actually really amazing that so many hundreds of volunteers so far have signed up and have made calls and have made just these huge number of calls. I just think that that really speaks also to the progressive movement and the strength of the progressive movement and the fact that we're willing to get out there and make calls and spend a Sunday making calls for Russ Feingold.
Real quick, less than a minute. You mentioned Russ Feingold. I know Alan Grayson is on there. Just tell people a couple of the progressive candidates that where calls are being made.
Sure. Well, tomorrow we're calling for Annie Custer. She's running against Charlie Bass in New Hampshire's 2nd District. He is a Tea Party Republican. She's a pro-choice adoption attorney. It really doesn't get more clear-cut than that.
No, that's a race that would be really terrific to win.
Yeah. On Wednesday, we're calling for Jack Conway. Obviously, he's running in Kentucky for the Senate against Rand Paul, son of Ron Paul. Just a radically conservative figure, really someone who it is scary to think about him being in the Senate.
Did you like that ad? Did you like Rand Paul's ad?
Well,
no. See, here's the thing. Here's what we learned that we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to I don't know. We had a great guest on and a great piece. And like Jenk and I objected to the ad a little bit too. And then you realize, my God, these guys do hideous things like this all the time. And it's like Democrats were tripping over themselves to criticize the ad.
You know, and that's the thing. I'm not going to criticize it because I think that these are folks who are genuinely dangerous if they get into office. And it is really important that progressives, there's a different set of rules out there, and I think that it's important that progressives do what they have to do to make sure that these really dangerous people do not get into the Senate.
Yeah, dangerous out of the mainstream, and you're exactly right. Yeah, it was a little goofy. Forget the mean parts. It was a little goofy. But anyway, it's all right, man. If it works, it was brilliant. And we hope it works. And calls made for Jack Conway on Wednesday, for Annie Custer tomorrow. Russ Feingold, nearly 50,000 calls made on behalf of Russ Feingold, who may well be closing the gap. And obviously, there's no more important, there wouldn't be a greater victory on election night if Russ Feingold kept that seat in Wisconsin. Stephanie, thank you so much.